Ethan had a way of loving Amelia so gently that even her darkest days felt warm. And he never needed grand gestures because the way he looked at her made her feel like she was the safest place in the world. Amelia often wondered how she got lucky enough to find someone who held her heart as if it were made of glass. He learned her favorite songs, memorized the little things that made her smile, and always stayed patient on days when her silence spoke louder than words, treating her emotions with care instead of frustration. She felt seen in a way she never had before, and his love wrapped around her like a quiet shelter. But Amelia carried a storm inside her that Ethan couldn't see. Scars from her past that whispered she wasn't good enough to be loved so softly, and that one day she might ruin the only person who ever held her without hurting her. Some nights she cried quietly beside him, fearing she didn't know how to be loved the way he loved her. Ethan held her during those moments with steady arms, gently brushing her hair back as he whispered that she didn't need to be perfect to stay, and that he would choose her even on her broken days. She nodded, but inside she feared she was becoming dependent on a love she didn't believe she deserved. The more Ethan loved her, the more Amelia's fear grew that she would eventually disappoint him. And she hated how much of her happiness now depended on him being there. She didn't want to become someone who needed saving just to feel alive, because deep down she believed he deserved someone whole, someone who didn't struggle to breathe on the days sadness returned. She began pulling away slowly, not out of lack of love, but to test if she could stand on her own without leaning on him like a lifeline, because she didn't want her healing to become his responsibility. Ethan tried to hold on tighter, sensing her slipping through his fingers, but Amelia kept saying she was just tired. He planned a quiet weekend to remind her that love didn't have to be heavy, taking her to a small cabin where they cooked together, watched the sunset, and shared soft laughter. That felt like old times. Ethan smiled at her with eyes full of hope, unaware that she was memorizing every second because she knew it might be their last weekend together. Amelia looked at him silently during dinner, memorizing the way he laughed, the way he leaned in when he listened, and the softness in his voice when he said her name, wishing she could stay with him forever. But the more perfect the moment felt, the more she believed he deserved someone who could stay without constantly fighting their own heart. When they returned home, Amelia mustered the courage to sit with him on the couch, her hands trembling as she held his and gently told him she needed time alone to fix the parts of herself she kept hiding. Ethan's heart cracked as he begged her to let him stay with her through the healing, not understanding how love could be the very reason she wanted to leave. With tears streaming down her face, Amelia whispered that she loved him too much to let him become her emotional crutch, and she didn't want him to carry the weight of her wounds, when she should learn to carry them herself. She kissed his forehead softly, thanking him for loving her the way she always wished someone would, even if she couldn't stay to receive it anymore. Ethan stood at the doorway watching her leave, unable to move, holding the sweater she left behind as if letting go would erase every moment they shared. And the silence she left felt louder than the sound of any heartbreak he had known. He didn't run after her, because even in pain, he respected the love she gave in her own way. Months passed, and Amelia worked quietly on rebuilding herself, learning to breathe without needing someone to steady her, and healing the parts she once feared would destroy any love she touched. She thought of Ethan often, with gratitude instead of regret, because his love had shown her what kindness felt like. One evening, Amelia walked past a familiar street and saw Ethan sitting on a bench, reading the same book he once read to her during her hardest nights, and her heart softened at the sight. She didn't approach him, choosing instead to smile softly from afar, knowing he would always remain a beautiful chapter in her life. Ethan felt a calm sadness when he thought of her, Not angry that she left, but grateful that what they had was real, even if it wasn't forever. And he wished her nothing but a life where she'd never again doubt her worth. Their story didn't end with grand closure, but with a gentle truth. Sometimes love means holding on, and sometimes love means letting go before you break what you cherish.